Welcome once again to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. The clue's in the name. This is very much Ferrari home turf, and the locals will be out in force today to support their team in what we hope will be a magnificent spectacle of motorsport. On then to the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. A lap of Imola, anti-clockwise of course, unlike most of the Formula One circuits, will take our drivers around 3.1 miles of track. 19 turns, 9 right-handers and 10 left. Drivers will need to be precise at the hairpin at turn 7, given the subsequent uphill section. Without a good exit from that corner, they'll lose a lot of time on that stretch. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. It's the owner-driver in pole position then. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas and Sainz, Leclerc, Gasly, Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, Vettel, Schwartzman, Yuki Tsunoda and Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Raikkonen, Antonio Giovinazzi and Esteban Ocon, Russell, Latifi, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today we're back here with another My Team Career Mode video in Season 2, and of course it is at Imola, and for the second time in our career mode, the first time in this season, we are lining up on pole position. As you can see, if you haven't already, you might want to go and watch Quali, the previous video in this series, but if you have, of course, you'll know that we are lining up on pole with Checo Perez alongside. It should certainly make for an exciting race. We got very close to the Red Bulls at the end of the last race, of course, Bahrain. We managed to beat them, both of them, by about a tenth and a half to Verstappen, who was just behind us. Of course, Perez then about a tenth and a half behind him. It was extremely close on the last lap, as we went for the one-stopper and they went for the two-stopper. Today, of course, we're lining up alongside Checo Perez. It will certainly be some exciting racing. Of course, we'll be looking maybe to go for a second, maybe a second win of the season. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. There's a chance of that coming today. Of course, the race strategy round here at Imola, there are two potential strategies here. They've actually given us the soft to hard, which I'm actually rather surprised about. Soft to mediums would have probably been the strategy I would have gone for. Yeah, but actually, if we're looking at that tyre wear, the tyre wear there looking pretty drastic. We do, of course, have lots of tyre wear upgrades on the car, so we shouldn't need to worry too much about it. But actually, I think we'll go with soft to hards. I was thinking about soft to mediums, but that looks like a lot of tyre wear on there. We'll have to assess as we get to about lap 10 or 11 if we can go a little bit longer on the softs and then maybe go to the mediums. But if tyre wear is looking high, we will go for that one-stopper, of course. Like most tracks, the one-stopper being quicker than the two-stopper today by 6 seconds. We will use the one-stop strategy, soft to hard. Before we get into this one, though, we're going to have a look at the grid order. That was, of course, settled by qualifying yesterday. Well, here is your order, and I have to say it's looking quite tasty towards the top. In terms of tyres, before we do continue, only one driver not on the softs, and that's my teammate Yuki Tsunoda. An interesting strategy choice there. He might be going medium to hard. If some of those guys on the softs decide to go soft, soft medium, or soft medium soft, basically a two-stop strategy, then Yuki could be right in there. However, a very, very interesting decision, I have to say, from Yuki. I wasn't expecting that many drivers to go on the softs. I thought we'd have maybe a few drivers going for the mediums, but it will be a medium to hard strategy for him. Maybe not as confident with tyre wear. We'll have to wait and see, but we saw he can definitely manage his tyres from Bahrain. But it looks like he's the only one for a medium to hard strategy. Everyone else is either going for the one-stop, soft to hard, or the two-stopper, soft to medium, or soft to medium to soft. Quite likely to be that. But of course, we line up on pole alongside Perez and Verstappen. Last time at Bahrain, the result was ourselves, Verstappen, then Perez. And today, the two Red Bulls have swapped around for the start of this race. Of course, we've got a really great chance to take decent points today, maybe even fight for the win. It'll be very difficult. It really, really will. What we seem to have seen so far this season is when it gets down to the business end of stuff, the Red Bulls are a lot stronger than any of the other cars, especially their drivers, in terms of how they've driven. We saw that at Bahrain, and then in Q3 they start to get that domination turned on. So it will be interesting to see. We'll probably be fighting with those guys quite a bit in this race. That could be our race. I don't know if the Mercedes of Hamilton and Bottas will be able to hang on. This was the point last season where they really started to assert their dominance. Can they do that again this season? Of course, Hamilton once again head of Bottas. Bottas and Hamilton, they're probably going to be fighting with each other. Both fabulous drivers. Bottas the reigning champion. Either one could finish ahead. Then, of course, the two Ferraris of Sainz and Leclerc, they scored just 1 point in Bahrain. They'll be looking for redemption this weekend, and also to catch up to a high-flying McLaren duo of Norris and Ricciardo, who start P9 and 10. So this is the opportunity for Ferrari to catch back up to their rivals in the R&D. Meanwhile, Gasly sits in the middle of that. A great quali, considering he's in that Alpha Tauri. Fantastic work from the Frenchman, as always, but we're comfortably ahead of him at the moment, which is great for the team against Alpha Tauri. Then the two Aston Martins, Vettel and Schwartzman. Schwartzman had a fantastic qualifying, only 2/10 off his teammate, improving from Bahrain. Great to see if he could take some points today. Vettel will be pretty strong coming from P11 on fresher softs. Meanwhile, my teammate Yuki starts P13. A bit of a disappointing quali for him, but ahead of Lance Stroll. That's where we wanted to be, ahead of Lance Stroll. I was hoping you'd be ahead of at least Schwartzman out of the two Aston Martins, but he's not that fantastic as quali. That's what we've seen so far. Hopefully he can excel in the race and gain some positions on that medium to hard strategy. We'll have to see if that's effective in this one. And then, of course, Lance Stroll behind him is low focus, causing him to be way off his teammate. We saw that in Q2, way off his teammate. He really is struggling a little bit this season. Then Fernando Alonso, P15 in the Alpine. Of course, he'll be looking for a decent result to stay around about there in an Alpine that really isn't competitive. Then the two Alfa Romeos with Esteban Ocon sat behind. Great to see Raikkonen in Q2 in quali yesterday. Then the Williams of Russell leading Latifi, and then as always Mick Schumacher leading Nikita Mazepin. Common trend with those guys there. But it'd be interesting to see up front how the battle unfolds with ourselves, Perez and Verstappen. Before we get into the action, if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But hopefully we can try and stay up top and Yuki can fight his way up the field. By the way, guys, before we begin, if you do want a more detailed rundown on what happened in Q1, 2 and 3, then I would, of course, advise the quali video. But today, we want to get straight into the racing action. It is, of course, the home of Ferrari. Ferrari certainly not on the front row, but their power unit is in the hands of ourselves. 5 red lights here at Imola. They're out and away we go. Never really the best of starters here. As you can see, it's a great start for Max Verstappen, who comes alongside us. Got barely anywhere to move out the way there for him, as we're going to try and stay in the lead. Perez has been moved down into P3 and we just about stay in front. There's yellow flags at the start, and is that Lewis Hamilton is round, I think. Or, no, he's not round. He's got caught up in an incident. I saw him dropping back. He's got caught up in an incident. And Alfa Romeo is round, whether that's Kimi Raikkonen or his teammate Antonio Giovinazzi. I don't know. They had a horrific time at Bahrain as we slammed the door shut on Checo Perez. Then it is, of course, Pierre Gasly, who has jumped both of the Ferraris. But Hamilton is way down the order and he's causing a little bit of a train to form back there. Does he have front wing damage? That's, of course, one of the important questions. If Lewis Hamilton has front wing damage, that could be his race entirely messed up. A little bit scruffy, though, on our first lap. But I wonder what happened to Hamilton, because I sort of saw him dropping back a bit. I didn't see anything really there on the mini-map properly. He just seemed to have absolutely lost it, and then it wasn't a spin. He managed to just keep going. But of course, Lewis Hamilton is into the pits. Hamilton into the pits. And when you've got a championship that is only 10 races long, an incident like that can be absolutely pivotal. That's him pretty much out the running for points here. And the field has become 3 trains. And actually, an Alpine is also in here as we go quickest in the first sector. An Alpine is in. There must have been an absolute calamity on the first lap here at Imola. I don't know what's happening, but 2 broken front wings, a spin for an Alfa Romeo. We're going to have to piece this together. As usual then, the race replay of the start. We were starting P1, and generally around Imola, I don't get away that fantastically. We didn't get away that fantastically this time from the front row. It was a fantastic start from Max Verstappen. Got past his teammate, 3 wide into the first corner. We managed to just about outbrake Perez, got in front of him. Then the shenanigans unfold behind. You can see there's that gap, and there's a Mercedes going around the outside pretty slowly. Back there, we'll have to see a replay of that, but ourselves remaining in P1. Bottas there, P4. Gasly got a fantastic start ahead of both the Ferraris. Charles Leclerc, P6, ahead of Sainz, P7. Then Ricciardo ahead of Norris. Lewis Hamilton is all right there, but you can see, is there front wing damage there? Not entirely sure, you can't really see it. Then, of course, followed by Seb Vettel. He's actually backing a bit of a train, and it's Vettel versus Schwartzman a little bit there. Vettel in front. Certainly a few cars having a little look at a move. Antonio Giovinazzi there, P15 on lap number 1. Let's have a look at it from a different replay. Here was your start from Pierre Gasly. He got away fantastically. Got the move done on Charles Leclerc. Then in front, you can see Carlos Sainz trying to fight with Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. That is 3 wide. Gasly goes round the inside line of Carlos Sainz to get past both the Ferraris, and Lewis Hamilton was clipped by his teammate, goes into the side of the Ferrari of Sainz, I do believe that was, and that may be some front wing damage, as in front the 2 McLarens are fighting, and I think there might be a bit of front wing damage there. Lewis Hamilton swung into his teammate Bottas, did very well not to spin around there, but that is a potentially broken front wing for Hamilton. That might be why he might need to pit. That's probably why it's all being backed up at the moment. Esteban Ocon here. Let's see him. And oh! The Alfa Romeo going very slowly there. He's teared off his end plate. That is a disaster for Esteban Ocon. A pit stop will be necessary for him too to replace that front wing. Why was Giovinazzi going so slowly there? Why on earth was Giovinazzi going so slowly? Speeds off in front, and now you can see that all the cars are backing up behind Esteban Ocon, who's going to need a new front wing. Seen loads of race replays for the start. This was what happened to Kimi Raikkonen, similar to what happened to Lewis Hamilton with his teammate, this time Antonio Giovinazzi. I think it was just tapped onto the side of him, and he's round. What a shame for Kimi there. It makes a change for it to be him spinning around instead of Antonio after Bahrain, but that's pretty much his race ruined. Well, it does seem that Mr. Max Verstappen here does not want to stay in P2 for very long. His teammate Perez a little bit further back. DRS has been enabled this lap. We give him just about enough space and just stay ahead, really squeezing him out there. This is going to be a very, very difficult race, as is that I think my teammate behind an Alfa Romeo now. He's behind Stroll too. He's dropping away. I don't know if he's got a problem or the Alfa Romeo has a problem. Ah, my days, this is getting messy. Can we stay ahead? I don't know. We leave just about enough space from Verstappen, and we do stay ahead. Becoming very scrappy here. I don't know what's happened further back with my teammate and the Alfa Romeo, because they have dropped way back off the 2 Aston Martins and Lance Stroll, but we are very slow here because I'm having to defend from the Dutch man Max Verstappen, who sits just behind, of course, Valtteri Bottas, waiting to pounce, and the Ferraris still ahead of the McLarens here. But we're going to have to defend from him now. Once again, he'll have DRS, and we are going to have to try and use some ERS. We're going to have a real calamity with ERS today, but we're going to have to try and stay ahead of a charging Max Verstappen here as well. He wants to go to the inside line. We're going to force him to the outside here. Just comfortably stay ahead into turn one, are we? Just about. And then the two Red Bulls side by side fighting behind. And that is Checo Perez in front of Max Verstappen. This is some fantastic racing. Meanwhile, the Aston Martins have caught up to the back of this train because the amount of defending we're having to do. But beautiful Red Bull action as further back, Valtteri Bottas is getting ahead of Verstappen. Did Verstappen take a little bit of a knock there because Bottas is heading up to P3 and Red Bull are going to be a bit annoyed with that. They don't want a Mercedes splitting their duo here. That could be potentially due to a little bit of a collision between the two, but now Verstappen has dropped back towards the sister team AlphaTauri, driven by Pierre Gasly, and yeah, he's going to have a bit of work to do to get back ahead of Valtteri in this one. It will be the Mexican Checo Perez hunting us down this lap. Well, now Checo Perez is having a little look at us here. We're going to force him to the outside line. No, we're going to be a little bit cheeky down the straight. Now he's going to go to the outside line. It's going to be 3 wide. Valtteri Bottas is coming at us into the first corner. There's literally absolutely no space over here. Bottas collides and he's round. He's hit the Red Bull. Valtteri Bottas is round. That's both Mercedes in a terrible position. That's collected. Ferraris, now there's a safety car. Checo Perez leads. Pierre Gasly is up to P4. And Seb Vettel is now P5. The Ferraris have got back going. There's still 2 McLarens in there. What happened there at turn 1? I think he tapped Perez and then went round. But what a dramatic start to this Grand Prix. I can't quite believe this. Both Mercedes in absolute disaster here. And we've got Red Bulls, P1 and 3. I can't quite believe this. And I think that might be a Williams in front of both Ferraris. You've got my teammate got really caught up in that. He's way back there. Oh my days. This could not have been a more dramatic start. We're going to be able to better understand the incident if we go on board with Valtteri Bottas. He's ridden over these curbs, then gone into the side of Checo Perez. He's round. And then Leclerc stops. You can see, oh, Leclerc goes into him. Plenty of cars piling up here. What on earth is happening as it switches to ourselves? We'll have to have a look at that from another angle. Well, we're going to need to see it from a bit further back. Charles Leclerc was fighting with Danny Rick in the distance. You can see that Bottas goes round. And look at that. Plenty of action there. Oh, my days. Oh, someone's going to the back of my teammate there. Let's see if we can get to that. Oh, my days. Virtually everyone's involved in that incident. You can then see Bottas is off track. Raikkonen, Latifi, Schwartzman, my teammates mixed in that. Plenty of drama. I have to change the camera angle so we can see it. Bottas there. Plenty of broken front wings, I do believe. Let's see if we can find my teammate. Oh, Yuki's lost the whole of his front wing there. Nothing there. Safety car deployed. Lando Norris dropped all the way back to P20. Bottas, the spinner there. You can see that out all of that. George Russell has lost the side off his front wing. Okay, it's looking fantastic for him, but he's lost the side off his front wing there. He's up to P6, but he's going to have to pit. Seb Vettel seems unscathed. He's gained loads of positions. 2 Ferraris. Someone went into the back of Leclerc, but he looks okay. Lance Stroll there, but is that a broken front wing? Yes, he's lost the side off his front wing too. Let's have a look. What else have we got? We've got Nicholas Latifi. He has lost a chunk off his front wing. Robert Schwartzman's looking all right. Who else? Antonio Giovinazzi's lost a chunk off his front wing. Alonso, Tsunoda lost their front wings. My days, this has turned into an absolute massacre here. Wow, virtually everyone in the second half of the field ends up in a collision. Piled up because of Valtteri Bottas and all these guys now coming into the pits, either for fresh tyres or a fresh front wing. At this incident with Mazepin's view, all the debris, the front wings, everyone's going slowly. He goes through loads of cars. Oh, it's absolute carnage here. Absolute carnage. I can't believe this. One spin from Bottas has caused quarter of the field to lose their front wing, and a smattering of penalties everywhere. Cars going into the back of each other. This is the definition of absolute carnage. One final angle of this incident, and Fernando Alonso, here we go, his view. You can see it all piling up in front, and then he smashes into the back of Tsunoda. Well, in this one, Perez has decided to pit, along with Seb Vettel. Those guys have come in. Verstappen has not, Gasly has not, Leclerc has not, Sainz has not. It's a little bit too early for us to pit on the one stopper here. We're going to play it a little bit more differently here. Valtteri Bottas clearly didn't take damage. We've got Leclerc and Sainz behind ourselves. My teammates into the pits. He must have had damage from that, of course. We are now leading this race. Quite a few drivers into the pits. We are, though, going to be going to about lap 11, then on to the hards to the end of this one. I suspect that most of those drivers have gone on to softs or mediums and will be pitting again in this one. We, however, are definitely going to be staying out. No, we don't want to go for a two-stopper. We're going to stay out. We're going to go for the one-stopper. We're going to play the long game here because I don't want to be going to hards on. Whoa, the safety car there has gone a little bit slow through Acca Minerali, but we are going to stay out here, and we are going to pit on lap 11, onto the hards, and then go to the end. Well then, a quick review of the order with the safety car currently out. Some of the drivers have pitted, whether that's due to wanting to go for a two-stopper or tyre wear. We won't exactly know, but ourselves sit P1 ahead of Max Verstappen. P2 here hasn't pitted yet, the Red Bull on the softs. Then we've got Pierre Gasly, who sits P3, and the two Ferraris of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. And the Hassers of Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin, pretty unscathed from the incident being so far back. They look pretty comfortable at the moment to Nikita and Mick, P6 and 7. That's going to make it very difficult for guys to fight up the field. The likes of Valtteri Bottas, who sits P8 after that crash, actually didn't end up too badly there. P8 for him, ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, P9, who had the early spin, which meant he was totally unscathed in the incident and actually gained a load of places. Then Sergio Perez has also pitted. He's P10. He'll have a bit of a hard time getting past Räikkönen, Bottas, Schumacher and Mazepin. However, really, he's going to be flying on those softs. Then you got Lewis Hamilton, who has already pitted. He'll have to pit once again in this race. He sits P11, saved by the safety car here. Then Sebastian Vettel sits P12. He has pitted, as Carlos Sainz is having a mechanical failure. What a shame for Carlos there. Esteban Ocon sits P12. Russell P13. Of course, Ocon had to change front wing earlier, has benefited from the safety car. Then you've got George Russell, Lance Stroll P14. The McLarens are struggling. Danny Rick sits P15, Norris P18. Then you've got Robert Schwartzman P16, Giovinazzi P17, both of those affected by the incident. Then Nicholas Latifi and Fernando Alonso sit P19 and 20. Alonso having a bit of a disaster in this one, and then my teammate Yuki Tsunoda with a new front wing is down at the back, P21, as we begin racing once again. Well, safety car is in this lap, and we are going to resume racing. But we have some pretty bad news for Ferrari. Carlos Sainz is out of the session. A mechanical failure, I do believe, for him. And that sadly leaves just one Ferrari in this one. That's, of course, Charles Leclerc, who currently sits P4. Schumacher, P5. And this is why we didn't really want to pit, because all those guys are now going to have to clear the two Hassers, which isn't going to be the easiest of things to do when there's only one DRS zone. So, as a result, as Checo Perez tries to send it down the inside line of ourselves, as a result, those guys are going to get really backed up by the Hassers, providing we don't have to fight too much with Checo here. We're going to just brave it out round the outside line and keep the position. But plenty of drama to start this one. Lap number 8. We might be able to actually go soft to mediums here because of the safety car. We can stretch this stint, but my God, has this been a dramatic start to the Imola GP here. We've lost just one car, but we've had plenty of broken front wings on spins, disasters, pit stops, and plenty of drama. Hopefully it'll calm down a little bit for us. DRS will be enabled pretty. Well, Pierre Gasly is in hot pursuit of Max Verstappen. It's going to be side by side into the first corner. Not even that. Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri is in front of Max Verstappen. A fantastic replay of that overtake. Gasly charging forward in this one. Might be in a slower car than Max, but certainly finding some very strong pace here. Well, lap 11 here, we have been going very consistently, but as you will see, of course, Gasly in front of a struggling Max Verstappen. Verstappen starting to drop a little bit further away from Gasly. You can see, though, that the Haas of Schumacher is doing a very decent job. Pierre Gasly, of course, goes quickest there. Verstappen's into the pit. No real surprises there. He's on the one stop, I do believe. Also with Charles Leclerc. Will they go onto the hards or the mediums is the question. But Schumacher's doing a fantastic job. Mazepin is really struggling. He's now entered the pits, but he was holding up a huge train of cars. And that led to basically them dropping so far away that they're virtually out of the contest in this Grand Prix. But you can see plenty of those drivers have entered the pits this lap. Of course, lap number 11 it was last lap. Now it's lap number 12. But you can see how spread it is in terms of the field, how spread out that is. A massive gap from ourselves back to the Haas, and then, of course, to the Alfa Romeo of not Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin of Vettel. By the way, in terms of the spin, that's, of course, Antonio Giovinazzi just having a disaster so far this season. But this race is just absolutely insane at the moment. We have, of course, got two options here. We can pit or we can stay out. Are we going to pit? No, we're going to stay out another lap. I'm happy to stay out another lap. Gasly, Bottas into the pits. Will Schumacher decide to join them? Yes, he will. So, Perez was on the softs. He is on the softs now. He's on that two-stop strategy. And he is only 1.4 seconds behind. That is severely worrying. He's on the one-stop strategy. Only that far behind. 60% wear on the CE already. Equally worrying. We had this last time at Imola. That should just about make it to the end. We will need a new one, though, for Spain. Well, having not decided to pit, Perez is coming at us a little bit there. We just force him out a little bit. Oh! Just about staying ahead of him there. Very slow through that section. Side by side through here. Are we going to stay ahead? Yes, we are. We might come into the pits at the end of this lap because the tyres are looking a little bit smoked here. Can we risk it for the mediums? I mean, if it's 14 laps in, over a third of the way into this one, and we're only at 30% on these softs, we are going to be able to go to the mediums now. By pushing this stint a little bit longer, we'll be able to pit at the end of this lap onto the mediums. Of course, Hamilton sits P4 at the moment. He is on the medium tyres here as Perez really closes up to the back of us. It's been Red Bulls on us for the whole of this one. We'll probably lose the position to Leclerc and Verstappen initially, but we should be able to charge them down on lovely fresh medium. So this lap, we're going to come in to the pits. We've extended it by a couple of laps here. We've had a little bit of a battle with Checo Perez, but car just now starting to ache a little bit on these worn tyres. Here we go. We're going to come in. Yep, we are. Let's see how close we are to those guys. Of course, ourselves being the only driver into the pit. There are lots of penalties, by the way, guys. A lot of penalties. I've had a look in terms of the race director section. Director section. You can see Tsunoda's 10-second penalty there for my teammate. 5-second penalty for Fernando Alonso. These are because of the incidents. And are we going to be ahead of Valtteri Bottas and Pierre Gasly? No, we are not here. Are we going to be ahead of Leclerc and Verstappen? Yes, we are ahead of Leclerc and Verstappen. Surprisingly, by going for the longer strategy, we have got ahead of them. The soft's still quicker, and now we have to take these mediums to the end of the race. Hopefully we'll be able to do that. The only real threat in this one is Checo Perez. He could really, really be a threat in this one. He will start to struggle on his softs in a little bit. Well, interestingly here, a lot of the drivers who have opted for that two-stopper, taking advantage of the safety car, are in this lap, which means it's all about how close we are to Checo. He is now exiting the pits. Tyre wear won't make much of a difference between us. We've just got 3 and 4% more. There he is heading out the pits now. It's going to be side by side into the first corner, but we steam ahead of him as that is Gasly in front of Bottas. He's got the move done, and that is ourselves ahead of Perez. He might have slightly fresher mediums, but that is absolutely pivotal for this one. His teammate Verstappen, 3.7 seconds back on the hards. The likes of Hamilton have pitted, and we're getting towards the point after everyone's pitted, which will be a couple of laps. We will see like the sort of order we're looking at in terms of points, but currently we are ahead of Perez, and that is absolutely pivotal. Bottas and Gasly, I have to say, aren't flying on their hards. That's why I didn't want them. I really didn't want the hards. We pushed longer on the softs, and it has paid off. Now, Checo Perez thinking about a move before the DRS zone. There will be, hopefully, some fireworks into the DRS zone. We're going to have, though, after this lap, about 10 laps maybe, of defending. Well then, now, down the main straight, lap 18, out of 32, and the chance to try and overtake the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas here, down the inside line into the first corner. Gets a little bit tight through there. We close him off. Move done. We've dispatched him, and now we've got to chase after Gasly. It's pivotal that we get Gasly pretty soon, because now Valtteri Bottas will hold up Checo Perez. That's important for us. We want Perez to be out of our DRS zone so we can sit a little bit more comfortably here in this race. But you can see the field is really filtering out after those pit stops, and it is looking really quite spicy at the moment. We've got Williams and Alfa Romeos in the points. I have to say, it's been a bit of a race to forget for the McLarens so far. Of course, out front, Fernando Alonso is P2 at the moment. Stroll P1. Alonso with a 5-second time penalty would take him out of any sort of competition for points as it stands. But here we are, lap 18, out of 32, up to P4. But of course, really, when we logically think of it in terms of the order, it's effectively P2 at the moment. We're going to have DRS from Gasly in front, despite making a mistake. Thankfully, that should give us enough to defend from Valtteri, but he's got a better run than us into the first corner. Perez is going to have a look to our inside. We're not going to let him in there. Is he going to try and send it down the inside line of Valtteri Bottas here? Yes, he is a little bit, but isn't going to get the move done. We drop a bit further away from Pierre Gasly. Both Lance Stroll in his Alpha Tauri and the Alpine of Fernando Alonso have pitted, which means that now Gasly is the leader of the race. We've got a better picture of this one, and it is going to be a dramatic finish. Well, Mick Schumacher certainly out of the points now, but he's still defending every single place for his life. As now, oh my days, Lando Norris only just squeezing through and past there Mick Schumacher, and he's going to be side by side with Robert Schwartzman in front. Those two nearly touched through there. Going to continue the side by side action, and Robert Schwartzman is in front of Lando Norris. Mick Schumacher is dropped back to P15, but some fantastic close racing there. Lando Norris, though, lucky to still have a front wing with a bit of a close encounter with the wall there. Well then, Gasly is now right in front of us as Perez goes quickest one, the 18-1. And Gasly really forces out a bit there. We've got to be nice and careful into the first corner, but using the DRS, we get comfortably ahead. Lap 21 out of 32. Pretty much 2/3 of the way through this one. The field extremely spread out as it stands. It has been an absolute massive race here, as we really do threaten to lose it there. Thankfully we don't, but of course there we go. Perez of course did get the move on Bottas, which now means that Bottas is dropping back off this, as now Perez follows through behind. You will have seen that in the wind mirrors, and that was, well, a fantastic move there, an absolutely fantastic move. The car's being a little bit twitchy, but mediums certainly the better call. Now we have got literally the rest of this race to defend from one man, and that is the Mexican Checo Perez. You'd expect Gasly and Bottas will probably drop away on their hards in this one. It is going to be ourselves versus Perez for the win, and we have got quite a few laps left to settle it here at Imola. Now, the first rendition of this battle. No, Jeff, we're not going to be pitting onto softs in this one. It's going to be comfortable for us to stay ahead. Perez has a think down that inside line. We are just going to hang him out to dry and draw Pierre Gasly onto his back. That's the target here. They're not a threat to us, so we can use him and Bottas in a sense to potentially force Perez behind them. We've got to play the tactical game in this one. That is how we're going to get a really decent point scoring result. Well, with everything starting to calm down and ourselves comfortably in P1, I thought I'd bring you a bit of a refresh of the order. Ourselves on the mediums and Checo Perez were P1 and 2. We'll have a bit of defending to do in this one, but hopefully we should have a bit of a pace advantage. We'll have to keep pushing. It could be an exciting battle to the end of this one. Then Pierre Gasly sits in the last podium position on the hards, but he's being chased down by Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen. Those two drivers in hot pursuit of him. They're both on the hard tyre compound. Then Charles Leclerc is dropping back to a charging Lewis Hamilton. The mediums certainly proving superior here, and Lewis Hamilton is on those mediums and chasing the Ferrari driver. It'll only be a matter of time before the Brit goes for the move on the Monegasque. Then P8, Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. He's looking pretty decent for some good points today in that Aston Martin, with Lance Stroll looking similarly good for some points. Of course, the two teammates last season. Now Lance Stroll at AlphaTauri, but he's avoided too many incidents here today, and he sits P9. Then Daniel Ricciardo, P10 in the last of the points position, and it's been a disaster of a day for McLaren. P10 at the moment. Lando Norris P13. It's going to be 1 point at this rate, like Ferrari took at Bahrain. Then Kimi Raikkonen just outside the points in P11. He is defending from George Russell, Lando Norris and Robert Schwartzman and Yuki Tsunoda. We're going to have to watch a bit of this down the main straight, because there will be probably some fireworks. And further back in that train, you've got Esteban Ocon, then Nicholas Latifi, Fernando Alonso in the back of this train. But now Kimi Raikkonen versus George Russell. Russell looks to go on the outside line into the first corner. Side by side. Gets a little bit too close for comfort. My days, getting very, very close there, but Russell gets ahead. So, of course, he's now ahead of Raikkonen. Norris struggling. Oh, Robert Schwartzman has spun off the circuit. And it looks like he's retiring. I don't know if he might have actually not been a mechanical there. That might have just... I think that's not a mechanical. That's a... I think he's just broken his... drive shaft, maybe. A horrible incident there for him. Then, of course, Mick Schumacher P19 and Nikita Mazepin P20. We've lost 2 in this race. Carlos Sainz and Robert Schwartzman, not because of a mechanical, but because of quite a big impact into the wall. On lap number 27 now. And we're going pretty nicely on the mediums. Tyre wear not too high, so still definitely the right call to stick out for a bit longer and then go for the mediums, because Gasly's falling away, Bottas and Verstappen in that, and that once again is a tussle between Gasly and Bottas, but Gasly in the slower AlphaTauri holding on just about from a faster Mercedes. He really is holding on to that position for his life, but of course he will do, because you know that's the position that gets him a lovely podium. Perez is not gaining on us really much at all. We're not gaining on him that much, but as you can see this lap, it has been a very decent one. We've actually going pretty nice. We're going to use a bit of VRS, a little bit messy out Aqua Minerale as usual, but we are slightly quicker so far this lap. So what do we need? A nice sector 3 to finish. Hopefully we can go quite quickly actually here. The order is very, very jumbled up as it stands, as I'm sure you can probably tell in terms of the mini-map. It doesn't exactly look like the normal sort of mini-map you'd expect at a race in this career mode. We're going to cross the line, just a messy final sector, and that costs us a slightly faster lap and a better one. But as you can see, the gap to Gasly now 7 seconds. ourselves versus Perez for the win, but there ain't much of a battle here. It's more of just, well, us two going along, keeping the gap at 2 seconds. But that is Bottas in front of Gasly now. Really nice move, probably. I'm guessing it will be. We haven't seen it, but I'm sure Bottas has put something really nice on to Pierre Gasly, and that is the podium position. If Gasly can stay there, though, in the DRS, he will be able to fight back on the DRS on that number 29. Well, sadly for the Frenchman, despite a fantastic drive, it's just not going to be a podium here because Valtteri Bottas is coming steaming through. Verstappen will be next, then Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. Gasly down to P4. The question is, how many positions can he hold on for what will be a fantastic result in that AlphaTauri? P4 at the moment. Will he be able to hold on, though, against that sister car, the Red Bull of Verstappen, who is charging from behind?
That's going to do additional damage to all other power unit
Righty,
components.
well, we've just gone quickest. Jeff is telling us that we've got an issue with the CE. Yes, it is now 75%. But you can see we just went quickest there, starting to find some pace on these mediums. Really nice pushing. I got a little bit worried for a second, hesitating. He said, got a problem with the CE, but it's just the wear. 75% won't kill us at the moment, as Verstappen is fighting as it stands with Hamilton on the medium. So Verstappen versus Hamilton, there it does seem... Oh no, sorry, I think that was Verstappen versus Bottas. Bottas stays ahead. Hamilton is now ahead of Pierre Gasly. Then, of course, you've got Charles Leclerc. We're struggling a little bit this lap. How are the tyres doing, Jeff? Oh, they're not looking too bad at all, really, considering they've been going for quite a few laps. Lap number 30 out of 32, and we are looking comfortable for the win. And we might even make it not just 25, but 26 points with that lovely fastest lap. It certainly hasn't been the best of days for McLaren. They are just, I think, out the points at the moment with Ricciardo, but Norris has sadly retired. He wasn't in the points either, so it hasn't cost them too much. But of course, Norris sadly retiring. They're at the first section of corners.
Yellow flag.
That does, of course, mean that, well, they've just had a disastrous day. I mean, Ferrari haven't done much better with, of course, Sainz. Leclerc's in a decent position at the moment, but we are on the last lap here, and it will be Valtteri Bottas on the podium instead of Max Verstappen, because Verstappen can't fight back. We are heading towards our second win of the season, and it should be with the fastest lap, unless Checo Perez can deny us that. The field is probably the most spread we've had, with also not just having like 1 by 1. We've got some trains going on, but the gap back to those guys now, the likes of Verstappen and Bottas, is 8 seconds. It was definitely the right call to go for the mediums. We're going to pull off the one-stop strategy here against a Red Bull on a 2-stop strategy for the second time in a row here at Imola. Of course, a lovely track, and we're going to get our engine supplier Ferrari a win. It's our fourth win, of the career mode, and our second in Season 2. We're going to be dominant in the championship standings. P1 at Imola.
Superb driving. That's the race win.
A nearly flawless performance here then, and a commanding victory. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
A show-stopping performance from the 3 drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Well, that was certainly a dramatic race. More dramatic at the start, I would say, than at the end, but a handful of broken front wings. There's going to be a lot of money going out of teams' banks for some new front wings after that race. I can certainly tell you that. Of course, we had the safety car and we had that massive pile up. Loads of cars involved just going into each other, and then, of course, broken front wings. We had Sonoda got ploughed into by Alonso, then he goes into a car in front, ended up getting loads of penalties in the end. Loads of drivers affected by that. It was an absolutely insane race, effectively, to put it simply, but we have come out on top. 26 points, and we've topped it. Got everything you could want out of a race weekend. Pole position, then the win, and the fastest lap. 1 minute 17, 7.23. Just over 2/10 quicker than Checo Perez, who was certainly charging from behind. He finished 2 seconds behind us. 18 points for the Mexican. He stayed out of trouble and he executed that 2-stop perfectly. Whether we should have gone to the 2-stop, well, that's quite a debatable one. I mean, personally, I'm happy with the strat we went for because, of course, we won. But really, there wasn't too much of a difference in terms of it in the end. Of course, he was just on fresher softs to be able to charge back up to us and gain the positions he lost by pitting. Really, with that, what that mattered was that you're on the mediums at the end of the race instead of the hards, and that really showed. Us two on the mediums finished, well, I finished 7.6 seconds ahead of the third place man. Valtteri Bottas, the Finn, on the podium for Mercedes, trying to turn his season around a little bit after last time at Bahrain, but 15 points for him, finishing ahead of his teammate. He'll be reasonably happy with that, considering himself and, of course, a Red Bull. I think it was mainly his fault that he went round. He did collide with Sergio Perez. He took way too much of the curb, hit him, went round, and that caused half of the field to pile up. So Bottas, certainly, I don't know if he deserves 15 points for that. But anyway, P3 and a podium from 5th on the grid. Max Verstappen looking very decent at points in the race, but the decision to come in earlier and then go for the hards really took its toll. Bottas finished ahead of him, and Max, who started 3rd on the grid and was fighting us quite a lot in the race, only comes away with 12 points. Very disappointing considering the pace he's been showing so far this season. He would have wanted to have taken a podium today. So would Lewis Hamilton, but it sort of went downhill at the first few corners when he ended up spinning. Thankfully, it didn't take anyone out. Nearly took quite a gouge out of Charles Leclerc's side pod. Thankfully, he wasn't affected either. But Lewis Hamilton recovered fantastically on medium tyres. I think went for 2 stints of mediums, and it really paid off. Got the strategy perfect, recovered to P5, 10 points on the board there for him. Really good recovery. What we want to see from Lewis Hamilton. Then Pierre Gasly, P6. What a shame. Couldn't stay ahead of Verstappen or Hamilton at the end of the race. Still, 8 points for Pierre Gasly. In the position he was in the lead at one point. You feel like it's just a bit disappointing, but Gasly has outdriven that car today like we've outdriven ours, and thoroughly deserves those 8 points. A really good drive from him. Then Charles Leclerc, just sort of one of those drivers who didn't lose or really win. There haven't been many of them, but I mean, P7 on the grid. It was just an okay race. It wasn't really that fantastic. He probably should have finished a bit higher, but he sort of stayed out of trouble. But did he get caught up in that incident? Put him on the back foot. Took 6 points in the end. It will be a disappointment after no points last time out at Bahrain, but it does put him ahead of his teammate and bring him closer to Danny Rick and Lando Norris. A bit disappointing, but not an absolute disaster compared to the other cars around him in the R&D. Then Sebastian Vettel, P8, the German, with a very solid drive. Didn't get caught up in all that shambles and the shenanigans, and finished with 4 points. He should be happy with that from P11 on the grid. Wasn't joined by his teammate, sadly. His teammate ended up in the wall. Lance Stroll, P9 for AlphaTauri. He'll be happy with that. Last time, of course, charged through the field really well at Bahrain after got some sort of penalties in quali or free practice. Not sure what that was for, but Lance Stroll, P9, at the flag in his AlphaTauri. That's got to be a confidence booster for him to take 2 points. And of course, adding to the AlphaTauri tally, finish ahead of Tsunoda too, so a really, really good result from the Canadian. Daniel Ricciardo might have started P10 and had a disappointing quali, but 1 point on the board for McLaren is really, really disappointing. Ferrari scored 6, all from Charles today. Danny Rick scores 1 for McLaren. A disappointing race. He did, however, get caught up in the incident like many others and really just couldn't do anything about it. But a disappointing result for the Aussie. Then, George Russell, P11 for Williams. He should be very proud of that, of course. He was way back there, 38 seconds off it, way off Daniel Ricciardo, but a really fantastic drive from P19 for Russell. By being further back, he avoided as much of the incident as possible, and then, of course, meant that he was pretty safe. He did go for the 2-stopper though, so he did, I think, take front wing damage. So a fantastic drive from George Russell, avoided penalties, didn't do too badly in the whole incident thing, got away okay-ish. So George Russell, P11 at the flag, really, really proud of him. A great result for Williams. No points, but that result really does mean a lot for them. Then Yuki, how disappointing. I mean, he was caught up in the incident, he slowed down, and then here comes Fernando Alonso, smashes into the back of him. Tsunoda then gets a penalty for smashing into someone else and being smashed into. Really unfair with the penalty system. Gets a full broken front wing, and it proved really costly. So a real shame for my teammate. Didn't do too much wrong there. Got a penalty towards the end. I'm not sure what for. Had he not have got that, he probably would have finished ahead of George Russell. But a disappointing one for Yuki. But then again, he couldn't really do much when you get ploughed into the back of by a certain Fernando Alonso. Got a bit of beef going on with him after that. But P15 on the grid to P13. Not too bad considering breaking his front wing in the incident. Then again, he couldn't really get slowed down. Just absolute carnage, wasn't it? Nicholas Latifi with a good result, up to P14, like his teammate George Russell, making inroads on the other cars. Solid race from Nicholas. He'll be happy with that. A good result in the Williams. Then the Alfa Romeos of Raikkonen and Giovinazzi. They both had their own dramas, I have to say, throughout the race. But despite that, P15 and P16, not too bad considering the circumstances. Then Esteban Ocon did gain a place in the end, but really for him, it was a bit of a disaster. It all went wrong when he ended up going into the back of, I think it was Giovinazzi, on the first lap and breaking his front wing, requiring a pit stop. From there, he couldn't really recover. P17, again, disappointing, but not much you can do about it. Then P18, Mick Schumacher, P19, Nikita Mazepin. They were in such a great position after the safety car, but just dropped down there. Schumacher did a fantastic job, really, compared to his teammate, of staying as much in it as they can, but the Haas is so weak this season that they should be pretty happy with that result. They drove a really decent race. I mean, Mick Schumacher certainly did. Nikita Mazepin, of course, P19. Then Lando Norris did not finish, says plus 2 laps. Sadly for him, did not finish due to mechanical failure. He was also joined by Robert Schwartzman and Carlos Sainz. Let me just show you on the race director here. Pit stops first. Front wing, 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 front wing. All of those pit stops due to front wing up there. That's a lot of pit stops because of front wing damage. It really is. Of course, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different front wings replaced in one race. And then if you look at the incidents, it's not very pretty. We've got all of these warnings and then 5-second penalties. Yuki managed to get 3. Then we've got a lot of these. Then a DNF due to mechanical failure for Carlos Sainz. Some more warnings. A couple for me. They due to track limits. Then terminal damage for Schwartzman. Norris got a mechanical and a 5-second time penalty for Yuki. Yuki got 20 seconds in total. It just became absolute carnage in that section. Just absolute carnage. It really, really was. Then, of course, the driver standings ourselves looking pretty comfortable up top. 51 out of a maximum of 52 points. It looks like that won't be continuing into Spain. But of course, 51 points for ourselves, ahead of Checo Perez, who moves up to P2. He's 3 points ahead of his teammate and 18 points behind us. Those Red Bulls are looking strong this season, I have to say. Perez leads his teammate. Then Valtteri Bottas leads Lewis Hamilton. That's on their best race result. Both of them have 21 points. Not looking as strong as the Red Bulls this season. Might start to slowly drop away. Then Daniel Ricciardo for McLaren P6, the best of the rest. He has 13 and isn't looking too shabby here. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly sits P7, which is pretty fantastic from him to be P7 at the moment. He's been consistent, taking advantage of others' misfortunes. Of course, he had a disaster, really, at Bahrain in terms of the result, but has come back strong here today. Then Yuki Tsunoda also took 8 at Bahrain. He's dropped down to P8 with a dismal result today and a very broken front wing. Charles Leclerc has moved up to P9, 6 points for him, still a disappointing position compared to last season. Then Seb Vettel up to P10, he'll be happy with that at the moment. He has 4 points, so does Lando Norris in the McLaren. One finish so far for him this season. Fernando Alonso has 2, so does Lance Stroll. And Carlos Sainz, the last of those who have scored, he sits P14. So we've had 2 races, 14 different point scorers. Certainly looking spicy this season. Both the Williams, Russell and Latifi still yet to score. Ocon still yet to score. Both the Alfa Romeos, Raikkonen and Giovinazzi still yet to score. Schwartzman still yet to score. And both Haas's, Schumacher and Mazepin, still yet to score. But as you can see, it is looking very, very interesting. You know, we're starting to take a good lead. Then the Red Bulls looking strong this season. A bit stronger than the Mercedes. That's looking pretty normal. Daniel Ricciardo being consistent. He is taking the reward for it this season. Pierre Gasly, P7, of course, as I've said. Yuki Tsunoda up there. Leclerc. All of that section is really just a jumble up at the moment. I mean, take, 10th to 14th. It's a jumble, really. You'd expect Sainz to move up quite a chunk. Norris, Leclerc, really to get a bit higher up there in the standings. It's been very jumbled start to the season with, of course, 1 stops from slower cars at Bahrain, and now absolute carnage here today at Imola, so that'll certainly change around. And then, of course, the constructors, Red Bull do take the lead with Yuki not scoring today. We sit just 4 points behind on 59. We're still looking pretty good, though, in terms of the constructors. Then Mercedes sit P3, 21 points off Red Bull. You can see the gap in the teams there. With McLaren P4. McLaren just have 17 points as it stands. That is sort of the higher midfield position, P4, because at the moment we're into a battle with Red Bull and Mercedes for the top 3. Our target this season, of course, being P3. Certainly looking quite achievable. Then AlphaTauri sit P5. Fantastic for them to be ahead of Ferrari. They have 10 points, mostly from Gasly, a couple from Lance Stroll. Then Ferrari sit P6 at the moment. Disappointing start to the season for them. Only 10 points behind McLaren, so that will be easily made up. Then Aston Martin have 4 points and Alpine have 2. Williams, Alfa Romeo and Haas still yet to score. Great to see, though, 8 out of the 11 teams already have points on the scoreboard. But there you have it. An absolutely insane race here at Imola. Certainly going to be staying on the calendar for next season if it's providing this sort of action. But we win here, 2 wins in a row in Season 2, plus the fastest lap, 26 points. Red Bull, Mercedes looking pretty strong at the moment, but a disaster for McLaren. Not too great for Ferrari. Bit of a surprise to see Seb Vettel and Lance Stroll up there in the points, maybe. Well, so high up there in the points, really. P8, well, for Vettel, P9 for Stroll. We wouldn't really have expected that before the race. And then, of course, the likes of Russell, Latifi taking advantage of others' misfortunes. What a race here at Imola. Plenty of action, plenty of jeopardy, and a really, really great episode. If you guys have enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Totally free, but helps me out. But there we have it. Winner at Bahrain, now winner at Imola. 2 wins in a row this season, 3 wins in a row in the career mode. We are looking very dominant. It is, of course, Spain next. If you guys have enjoyed the video, then make sure to watch out for that one. But What a race, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you all very soon for what will hopefully be another exciting and dramatic instalment of My Team Career Mode.